Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Thursday, the 20th of January. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined, as ever, by Joshua Barrie. How are we doing, Joshua?
Oh, well, this morning, Derek, just been told you off there, had to run over and get coffee. So I have my caffeine headache at 9:30. Apart from that, the morning's going as it should.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Good to have you here as ever. And likewise, lots of comments coming in already. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And if you haven't already done so, just hit that subscribe button on YouTube so you'll never miss a video when we go live. And also, we still have that fantastic offer on just now on the Rangers Review website. It's absolutely free for the first month. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe and support top quality journalism, support covering the club you love. Terry Monroe, our great friend, has already subscribed to the site, so thank you very much for that, Terry. And likewise, many others who have done so, taking advantage of that offer. So fantastic. It's very much appreciated. Let's crack on with today's talking points. Joshua, the news broke yesterday evening that Alfredo Morelos has been called up to the Colombia squad, which means that he's going to miss a number of games for Rangers. He's going to miss the Celtic game as the headline game, of course, and he's likely to miss Ross County, you'd imagine, perhaps, and the game against Livingston on Wednesday, the 26th of January. Joe Rebo, of course, also missing for that Old Firm game. He's away with Nigeria. Now Alfredo Morelos is out. It's going to be it makes Rangers' life more difficult in the coming games, Joshua. But with regards to that Old Firm game, they've got previous for taking on their arch rivals with a depleted squad already.
Yeah, disappointing, wasn't it? I mean, the thing is with Morelos, obviously didn't have his finest game up at Aberdeen. That said, I thought he was very unlucky with that late volley, but he has looked a lot better under Van Bronckhorst and looks really lean, has been playing really well. So really disappointing that it looks like he's going to miss that game. And I guess the question then is, who do you play? Because you could play Sakala, and I think that would work. I think if you look at how Van Bronckhorst has approached the away game so far, you can certainly see him allowing the opposition to have the ball. And as such, I could see Sakala's pace working, but I think that works better sometimes from off either side as opposed to through the middle. Kemar Roof obviously hasn't played. I think he's started once under Van Bronckhorst, which was away in Leon. Derek scored one goal, which was an important winner against Hibs, but that aside, he's not been involved. I think he'd be the natural replacement for Morelos because of his style of play. But he's not the same. He's not the same focal point that Morelos is. And then you've got Cedric Itten, and I doubt that he'd be thrown in for that game after not being around for half the season. So it's a tricky one. But as you said, I think you look back, and obviously the squads have previous with this, and I think they'll get on with it. I also think I'm of the opinion, not through any not knowledge apart from kind of my own inklings, that they will see a couple of players come in to the squad this January. Obviously, you had Ross Wilson say that at Van Bronckhorst's unveiling that if a player went out, money would be reinvested. And I think Aberdeen certainly showed there was a couple of areas of the pitch where that was necessary. So it could be a slightly reinforced squad for that game as well.
Yeah. It's not ideal, of course. We'll be speaking to Giovanni Van Bronckhorst a little later, folks. We'll get his thoughts on that. But he said previously that he's not going to be looking for a postponement. He's going to just be dealing with the cards that he's dealt, the way that the land lays, I guess, which is admirable. And Rangers do have, like you say, Joshua, they do have players there who could play in that role. Now, Kemar Roof, for me, Rangers need to get this guy fit. You can't rely on him pretty much because he's always out injured with little niggles and what have you. That's part of the reason why he's at Rangers, of course, is because he is pretty injury prone. But they need him for these games coming up. He's a big game player, and he's a man I would be looking at to fill that void left by Alfredo Morelos. I know you've mentioned as well, Joshua, that and I know the comments are coming in, that this could be an opportunity for Fashion Sakala to really stake a claim up there.
Yeah, but I do think that I do think Sakala is going to be a winger under Van Bronckhorst. I don't see him. I think he's done okay in the central striker role, and Sakala's still hard. I can't think of a run of 3 games he's had in a row, Derek. Even when he came on against Aberdeen, I know he hardly had anything to do, but when he did do it, I thought he looked quite promising. And obviously that's the nature when players don't play and they come on, and players always get better when they spend time on the bench when they're out injured. But I do think he gives you such an unpredictability with the ball, and that game against Motherwell away, when he played off the flank away from home, and obviously Hearts as well when he assisted a goal, and he should have scored. And then obviously because of the kind of game state, Rangers sit back in, so you don't see as much of him going forwards. I agree with Ruth, and I think he was signed for 2 reasons, and he was a perfect Gerrard signing, wasn't he? And we've written about this on the site before, because he could sit as one of your 210s, he could do the defensive work, but then he could really add what Rangers have lacked in that forward line, which was a goal scorer coming off one of the 2 sides. And he was hugely influential, and that's what I'm trying to say, in the title winning season. But now where does he fit in? Because he's certainly not going to play as a winger under Van Bronckhorst. The number 10 role is very different to the winger role that's now employed, and I don't see him playing as a number 10. Maybe he could, but certainly look at how often the number 10 has to come back and play as a third central midfielder. I don't know if that's the case. So it's a frustrating one, because his XG per 90 is so good. He scores. He's a goal scorer. He creates chances. The game that comes to mind, even though he doesn't score, was a 2-1 win against St Johnstone. If anyone remembers that first half, which was dreadful, you'll remember how Ruth created about 3 or 4 half chances from genuinely nothing, and that's what he can do.
Yeah.
But he needs to be fit, and that's the frustrating element of it. But as you say, Derek, that's why he's at Rangers. If he had a better injury record, I think he would likely be in the Premiership. And it did seem at one point that he'd got over that, and obviously Rangers, as we covered, I think, however many months ago now, are working with Zone 7, who are the artificial intelligence company who track injuries, and that seemed to have helped, certainly from an outsider point of view. But it's frustrating that he wasn't involved against Aberdeen, and hopefully he'll be involved against Celtic, but he just can't count on it at the moment. I guess that's what you're saying, and that's a frustrating thing.
Yeah, Rangers on tour mentions Roof could be picked for Jamaica. Now, they do have World Cup qualifiers as well. And listen, that could be a very much a possibility, but I very much doubt, given he's missed so many games, that Jamaica are going to call him up. But you just never know. I think it's just a case of watch this space. Let's talk about a different topic, Joshua, because there's a article on the website this morning, a good article from James Kearney covering Scott Arfield. Of course, his contract is up at the end of the season. He's reportedly attracting attention from clubs in Turkey, he's free to speak to clubs now and sign a contract with someone else in the summer. He puts forward the argument that Rangers should offer him a new deal. He certainly offers something that a lot of the players in the squad don't. I think Rangers missed him on Tuesday night. Where do you stand on Scott Arfield deserving a new contract?
I think a year would be sensible, given the lack of depth in that area. I think Arfield's been a great return for what we signed him for. I was speaking to our boss Johnny last week about this, how the Moneyball, I guess the Moneyball vision in football of just signing young players means that there's great value sometimes in players like Stephen Davis, Scott Arfield, Alan McGregor, who all arrived at the club after their 30th birthday, and Davis and McGregor's case well after that, and have proved, given remarkable value to the club, and have been really good signings, and have helped blend the squad between youth and experience. And Arfield, for me, well, it depends how he comes back from this injury. I guess that's always the case, and he was injured at the start of the season as well, Derek. So, that's maybe a little bit concerning, but he's done well since Van Bronckhorst has come in, and the football seems to suit him. I think he gives you a good option. I think he's pretty dependable. He was a big favourite of the previous manager, Steven Gerrard, for that reason, and he gives you something different in that area. I thought, how much did we miss the threat of a run from the middle against Aberdeen? I thought it was just crying out for that point. And for Arfield to go and dovetail someone and getting behind the defence, So yeah, I think a year would be sensible. You look at someone like Davies, who at 36 is still able to do it physically in the Scottish Premiership, and Arfield certainly seems like someone who would be able to replicate that. So for me, another year would make sense, but we shall have to wait and see.
Yeah, and he's another one you'll be hoping he returns. Of course, missed the game on Tuesday night through injury. We'll get an injury update on him from the manager a little later on. And I mean, looking forward to the game on Friday. I've seen murmurings that this morning, Joshua, that the likes of Ryan Jack could come back into the reckoning on Friday. Would you like to see? I imagine there will be a number of changes for Friday. The likes of perhaps Jack, Bakuna. Sakala starting, perhaps maybe a chance for Cedric Itten. I guess it's an opportunity. This presents itself a great opportunity to play these sort of guys.
Yeah, definitely, and maybe a couple of youngsters as well. Maybe Leon King, who knows? It'd be nice to see him. Charlie McCann, I think, was it Charlie McCann that was on the bench on Tuesday as well? Yeah. So perhaps that's with a look towards Friday. Bakuna needs to get a game at some point, in my opinion. Sakala definitely. I think Kent will play because he's obviously ridiculously suspended for the league game because of two strange yellow cards, should we say. And so I think it makes sense to use him, and I think you'll see the likes of probably Kamara rested. But you just need to go out and really attack this. These are the types of games where nothing can go right necessarily, but everything can go wrong, even though it's a part-time opponent who obviously shouldn't trouble the club. They just need to go out and score a few goals. Maybe we'll see Bassey move to left back if Balogun or even Simpson comes into centre back. But I'd like to see a couple of youngsters in there at one point for me, Derek, and CGM's been very bold to say start them all. Maybe I'd certainly like to see Leon King start, and as I say, maybe Charlie McCann, because he's on the bench on Tuesday, will get the nod too. But yeah, just a good opportunity to go and score a few goals. You'll remember the 2-0 win over Stranraer at the start of 2020, which was just a terrible game, boring. And I think the manager and Gerrard came out and said it was boring after. So hopefully it'll be more entertaining than that.
Yeah, absolutely. A few comments coming in just regards to the forward line. Of course, at the top of the programme, we mentioned that Alfredo Morelos has been called up to the Colombia squad. So we'll miss that Old Firm game. A comment, an interesting one that came in from Baz Nicol, Joshua. Where's Jermain Defoe when you need him? Maybe Rangers.
He's on TalkSport. That's where it is.
Yeah, absolutely. He is looking for a new club, and I know he was talking glowingly about Rangers on TalkSport yesterday as well. It's great to see a guy of that stature speak so highly of the football club. He really did get it, didn't he, Josh? I know we talked about it last week when he was released from his contract, but he can still do a job, can't he? He's not short of offers, that's for sure.
No, I'm sure he'll go. I think it looks like he'll go to someone like Sunderland or around that level. And, I definitely don't think that personally Rangers should be relying on a 39-year-old striker. And I know, and you hear Defoe speaking, he doesn't speak like that. And that's to his credit because he's still playing professionally at that age. But I think it was a complete right decision. But also, you're right, it's nice to hear him speak about it in such glowing terms. He was laughing about how Glenn Kamara and Joe Rebo called him uncle, which I found quite funny. But it's an option. This is why Cedric Itten came to Rangers, not necessarily to play against Stirling Albion, but to take his opportunity. And he's got a second opportunity, and he needs to go and take it. So yeah, I'm sure Defoe will still play. That's what it sounded like anyway. I was quite surprised at that. I thought he'd have perhaps wanted to stay around at the club and then taken on more coaching responsibilities because of that. But obviously, you've got Roy Mackay, who's far more experienced as a coach. And as Gary Comodi wrote, I thought really, really well. It was a really great opinion piece if you haven't read it at the time. He's kind of got that ruthlessness. You heard him speak about the Nathan Passon transfer, and there was a lot of emotion tied up in the previous regime for better and for worse sometimes. And it was interesting to hear Gary's point of view that perhaps that kind of slight coldness from the new manager was needed. So yeah, obviously all the best for Jermain Defoe, and we'll all keep an eye out for his goals, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you still get a lot of games still in, and he keeps himself super fit, of course. And yeah, we wish him all the best at the Rangers review. the beauty of this show is we can answer questions that get fired at us. Joshua Tally McLaren gets in touch. We slightly talked about this a little yesterday, but he says, can we speak about the red card Kent got? I think we're both in agreement that it was an absolute farce to see him being sent off. I know Ali McCoy has come out and said his piece as well. It was a bit of a joke decision, as have others, of course. But the yellow card means that Rangers are unable to appeal, such as the nonsensical rules surrounding the appeals process. If he had received a straight red, Rangers would have basis to appeal that. But as it stands, 2 yellows, you can't. If you mind back to November time when Aberdeen's Funso Ojo was pushed by the Dundee United supporter, and Bobby Madden gave him a second yellow and sent him off, and Aberdeen weren't able to appeal that. It just makes a mockery of the rule, doesn't it, Joshua? And I think that's a rule that really needs looked at.
Yeah, I mean, the red card is... I think the best way to sum it up, Derek, is, and it's the same for the penalty that Clancy gave against Rangers at Celtic Park against Nico Katic in 2019, which we spoke about yesterday. If you give that decision, you're going to give 10 penalties a game. And if you send Ryan Kent off for that, you're going to send off about 10 players a game. So it's really frustrating. And I think that aside, I always think a referee's having a good game normally when you don't notice him, because he allows the game to flow. And obviously there's exceptions within that. And I have no experience of refereeing a game, thankfully, so I can't comment on it, on the experience of it too much. But the game was slowed down unbelievably, and that was just a frustrating thing. But the 2 yellow cards are ridiculous, because firstly, Kent is, he's not the aggressor in the initial situation, and then after... I think there was actually a foul before it. I don't know if you remember as well, where Kent was about to go into the box, and Clancy, he kind of went into shoulder to shoulder, and he got a foul given against him. And I just thought at that point, it's ridiculous, because you can't. If you stop the game for that, you've got to be consistent. So really frustrating, and I think obviously the referees can be a little bit of a lightning rod for criticism sometimes, but if you watch that game as a neutral, I think you'd have seen this guy's not allowing the game to flow whatsoever, is it? And the red card's ridiculous, and as you say, you can't appeal it. So it's a difficult situation for the club to be in through really no fault of the player, and now he misses an important game. Yeah,
absolutely. Alan Kelly says need VAR. It ties in. I wrote a piece yesterday, folks, on the site, just detailing Kevin Clancy's abject performance on Tuesday night, and why VAR needs introduced, and a number of other measures that need introduced to avoid similar performances like that, because it just isn't good enough for the top flight of Scottish football. So watch this space. But if you want to go and check that out, just head over to rangersreview.co.uk. If you haven't already subscribed as well, it's just /subscribe. And remember, we've got a fantastic offer on just now. It's free for the first month and just £2.99 a month thereafter. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for getting in touch as ever. It's very much appreciated. We'll be back tomorrow morning to have a big preview ahead of the Scottish Cup match against Stirling Albion at Ibrox. It'll be great to see Ibrox absolutely packed to the rafters once again. But until then, enjoy the rest of your